and welcome back to my garden this time. And behind me I have this beautiful Lavaterra. This is the first year that I've actually planted this and I am in love. It has such beautiful flowers, and maybe also our weather has been really good for it for this one this year. But it's just been blooming like crazy and it brings a little bit of extra joy into my garden. I just thought I would share a late summer garden Zone 3 with you guys. Every year is a little bit different, but this year the garden has done really well. Our corn that you see in the back where I'm standing has done really well. It isn't quite ready yet, and the mosquitoes are out, of course, but it isn't quite ready yet, but we've been having a bit of a heat spell here lately, and so I'm hoping in a few days we'll be harvesting a lot of corn and canning that for the cellar. I also plan on harvesting my onions today. They still haven't toppled over. I usually like to wait until they topple over, but they are decent size. The onions aren't quite as big as last year, but they still look really good. And I do want to harvest these before we have a frost. It's early September here and we have our first frost warning this night. We live in a little bit of a lower area, so when it says it's going to be 5 degrees Celsius, we might get frost, and that's a little bit scary because all of my tomatoes are still on the vines. I was feeling cautiously optimistic with my tomatoes. The plants grew really well this summer, but I didn't have a whole lot of fruit on there. Now the last 2 weeks have been really warm, so we have a lot of tomatoes everywhere. And they're still quite small, but we do have some of the beauties hanging on here, so I'm excited, hoping that we'll get enough to make pizza sauce and pasta sauce and all the tomato things. So this year, I did not start any plants in February like I usually do. Usually I start my peppers, my tomatoes in February, so that they have a bit of a start in our Zone 3. Because we have such a short growing season, I prefer starting them earlier. But they also always suffer a little bit of transplant damage when they get so big. So this year I only started my seeds at the beginning of April. My peppers have suffered because of this. They are actually blooming now and it's way too late in the season. And just as I'm looking, I see a little jalapeno pepper here, which is really exciting, but I don't think that we'll get a whole bunch. There's a lot of blooms hanging on there, and it's just too late for them to actually fully develop. This is my celery. There are some nice stalks on the celery. You're supposed to put a milk carton around the celery stalks for them to grow longer. I did not get to that this year. We will just eat whatever celery we get. But what happened right after I pulled my garlic? Well, deer came into my garden. They have been wreaking havoc on my corn. I am not very impressed with them. The peas are done. We've pulled some we've given to the cows, and there's just a few left on the trellises, which I'm going to pull this week as well. So when my cucumbers really struggled in spring, I replanted. And it took a while, but now we have quite a few cucumbers. I'm going to be picking these as well. I've made some dill pickles already, but I'm going to be picking these, and then we get what we would get, and then the rest we'll have to wait until next year. Carrots have always really done well in this soil. We have really alkaline soil here instead of acidic, and carrots are just one of those things that seem to thrive. We always get more than we need, but it's always a blessing to be able to bless someone else with your abundance. If you have more than you need in your garden, give it away. Someone will appreciate it. We have a lot of parsley and dill still standing in the garden. Volunteer sunflowers always give a little bit of extra joy in the garden. Sometimes I do pull them. A few always manage to survive. This is my raspberry patch, and this is the third year since we've planted these. They did not produce more than a handful this year, but it is finally well established that I'm hoping that next year we should have an abundance of raspberries for our family.
Oh, wow.
Oh, and this rose bush just gives me so much joy. They've loved the heat. I thought they were done, but they've just been blooming so much. And look at these petals. In the middle of the winter, I'll be dreaming of these roses again. The rest of this big field is mostly potatoes, and they are starting to curl up. They're starting to brown. I plan on pulling all of these next week. It is at the beginning of September, and while I do like for them to stay in the ground as long as possible because of just storing them, it is time to get them out of the ground and get them in the root cellar. Along with our deer problem came the fruit trees, and the deer have really set them back. These Haskap plants were twice as big, and they have just chewed them down. The cherry trees, well, just got chewed on, and I was quite upset when I realized what was happening. This is my yellow rose bush. It hasn't produced any blooms in the last little bit, but it's like doubled in size, so I'm thinking that's just the variety that does it like that. But I am excited to see what this plant will produce next year. My garlic bed is still empty. I haven't replanted any garlic yet. That is a job for September. Probably by the end of September is when I will be doing that. Asparagus has taken over its bed. It has done really well, so I'm hoping we finally have some established perennials in the garden. I harvested the rhubarb last week, and it's looking pretty scrawny right now, but it needs at least some. I try not to pick every one because it needs some just to support the roots for the winter. The comfrey over here has done really well as well. There's quite a bit of weeds in my garden. Comfrey is an amazing herb to have in your garden, and it's hard to kill. It's really easy to grow, and it's hard to kill. In the spring, I transplanted one from over there to this spot, thinking that one was dying. Now I just have 2 comfrey plants. If you do not want to till it, you don't want to cut into the roots because it will just produce another plant and thrive. So comfrey isn't something that I use a lot of, but I love having it in my garden. It makes a really awesome salve, and I will, in a future video, I'll show you when I make my comfrey salve. And then it's great for like it's like an all-purpose ointment for bumps, bruises. I use it everywhere. My strawberry plants, these 2 rows, did okay this year. They didn't produce a whole lot of berries, but the plants itself really got established until the deer came along and they started snipping off all the new growth. I was very frustrated, so I put down this chicken wire on top of them to kind of detour the deer. I think it worked. There's no new leaves that I can see that the deer ate. Overall, my garden is very much looking like a late summer garden. I am excited to put it to sleep for the winter, but I'm also excited to harvest a little bit more before winter comes.